Hey guys, this week we are going to be talking about recovery and 5 different areas you need to be considering when you're looking to optimize your recovery for performance, for lifestyle benefits. This is a topic that a few of you have been asking about, so I want to jump right into it. Number one, the most important thing that you can do to optimize your recovery between workouts is to prioritize your sleep. This is also the best supplement you can take. This is the best strategy you can use to optimize performance, strength gains, improvements in muscle size, and generally to improve your quality of life. Those of us who are sleep deprived suffer a host of health ailments that the more I read into it, the more shocking it really is. So let me start by giving you some of the negative consequences of sleep deprivation and why it can be hurting your performance. So from a testosterone production standpoint, when you are getting 6 or less hours of sleep per night, your testosterone production is drastically reduced. Again, this might sound a little inflated, a little exaggerated, but men under the age of 50, if you are not waking up with what we call morning wood, then that is a great sign that you are underslept, you are not sleeping well, and your testosterone production is inhibited. I'm not going to ask you to answer that question. You can check yourself. But that is a obvious marker of low testosterone, which could be correlated to poor sleep habits. Additionally, what is a little bit more alarming is when you look at the long-term consequences of prolonged sleep deprivation. There's a study that found that people who actually sleep 6 on average or less hours per night had drastically higher risks of cardiovascular disease and of cancers and of dementia, Alzheimer's, and other neurocognitive ailments than people who are sleeping 8+ hours a night. And if that doesn't spark you to want to sleep more, I don't know what will, but this was a pretty... I don't know if it was surprising, but yeah, it shows that your immune system is drastically compromised and your risk of these chronic diseases are much higher when you aren't sleeping. The literature also shows that your immune system is drastically compromised as well when you aren't sleeping enough consistently over time. So if you really genuinely want to improve your recovery between bouts of training, aim for 8 hours of sleep minimum. If you are a high performance athlete who is training multiple times per day, you should be trying to get 9 or 10 hours of sleep, as hard as that might sound. Now, sleep isn't always as clear cut as we might think. Just because you're laying in bed for 8 hours does not mean you're getting 8 hours of sleep. And just because you're getting 8 hours of sleep does not mean that you're getting 8 hours of quality sleep. So a few things that you guys can do to improve your quality of sleep. One is limit or completely cut off your caffeine intake. 1 max 2 coffees per day and nothing after the noon hour will drastically improve your sleep quality. Sleeping in a dark room, so we're talking about getting blackout blinds where there's actually no light exposure into the room. Studies show us that even small amounts of light in the room can inhibit our sleep and our REM quality. And additionally, making your room cold is very important for improving that sleep quality. And lastly, try and eliminate any electronics 90 minutes or so before bed. So that's no phones, no TVs, no tablets, 90 minutes. Again, that's going to allow your body to move into its sleep pattern earlier on in the night and unwind you much better. Fill your time with family, friends, a good book, whatever it might be. This can be a tough one, but try it. Again, so sleep quality will improve your recovery better than anything else, and those are just 4 ways you can optimize it. Number 2, we are going to talk about nutrition. So with recovery, the first thing I like to talk to people about is food quality. Yes, protein is important. Yes, getting a adequate amount of protein is very important for recovery. But if you are eating poor foods, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, that is going to have more long-term health consequences than anyone who is, looking to optimize their performance through protein intake. So yes, in the short term, eating crappy foods with high protein intake can be convenient, it can be easy, but I really implore people, try and eat more green stuff, eat more vegetables, have some fruits, limit the processed carbohydrates. If you are, again, a high performance athlete who is training a lot, we're talking 1.5 to 2 times per day, you might want to look at a little bit more refined carbohydrates for your energy source. But for most of us, we probably don't need that in our diet. So if you're eating well, that is going to be one of the best ways to improve your nutrition. And as you get older, you will experience this with much more rapid feedback. When you drink, when you party, when you eat poorly, you will feel it the next day. When you're younger, it is easier to buffer this. But again, as you get older, that's going to be much, much more challenging for your body to be robust against. Number 3, to optimize your recovery is active recovery. So this is something quite a few years back where people talked about rest days and completely taking the day off, sitting on a couch, doing absolutely nothing was the best way to recover. Turns out that our body has this system called the lymphatic system, which is essentially a drainage system where our muscles eliminate all the excess tissue, all the metabolites that we no longer need into the body to be flushed out. However, to actually use that lymphatic system, you need to create muscle contraction. So on your rest days, doing something like a light walk, a brief bike ride, hopping on the assault bike, or any sort of cardio can be a great strategy for draining your lymphatic system and actually speeding up the recovery process. Things like hopping on a foam roller, using a lacrosse ball, or anything of that nature is also a fantastic option to flush out your muscles. Additionally, it's going to improve your range of motion. So if you can do some stretching in between your workouts, that's going to help you improve your position, which will allow you to get back to training earlier. For a lot of people, one of the biggest rate limiters between workouts is their capacity to get back into the positions. Me especially, I know after a hard workout, I get all tight and bound up, and I need to break apart the tissues a little bit more before I can return to training. So active recovery, foam rolling, stretching, yoga classes, those things can be phenomenal for speeding up the recovery and just having you feeling better after a training bout. Number 4 we're going to talk about is not training too hard. So what do I mean by this? And I apologize to a couple of my local athletes who recently I violated this rule and kicked their butt in a workout. Sorry, Alex. Sorry, Aaron. But you should not train too hard too frequently. Reason being, a very, very hard workout that kicks your butt and leaves you sore for 4, 5, 6, 7 days afterwards can really slow down and hamper your, not only your recovery process, but also your training adaptation. Again, I feel like these workouts can be good from time to time, but if you're constantly beating your body down and breaking down your nervous system, over the course of a year, 2 years, a decade, you're going to be training far less frequently, and you're not going to recover and adapt at nearly the same rate compared to somebody who trains a little less intense but is able to train more frequently. Frequency of training is very important. It's not all about intensity and lifting heavy weights. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is adding recovery weeks into your training. So recovery weeks should be done every 4 to 8 weeks. This is just an opportunity to let your body unwind, relax, and decompress from the stresses of training. When done properly, a lot of people will actually find that after a bout of 3 to 7 days of recovery, they come back in better shape, fitter, stronger than before their training started. Before their rest week started. So trying to add in a rest week is phenomenal for your muscles, for your nervous system, and for your desire to train. Again, you should go into every training session wanting to be there, and when you train too frequently, you can burn yourself out. So sprinkling in a recovery week will definitely help with that. Those of you guys on the online training team, you have that built into your program, so you don't have to quite worry about that. But yeah, for most of you, that's a mistake you're probably making. Try to avoid it. So just to recap, our 5 strategies to optimize your recovery: sleep more, aim for 8 to 9 hours per night. Number 2, improve your nutrition, starting with the quality of your food and then talking about the intricacies like macronutrients and increasing protein intake is the next step, but start with the quality. Number 3, start doing active recovery on your off days. Don't just sit on the couch. Move, stretch, get your body flowing, do some recovery work. Number 4, don't train too hard. It's going to wipe you out for too long, and it's going to have you training less frequent. So pull back the intensity a little bit so that you can train a little bit more frequently. And lastly, install recovery weeks into your training program. There's my 5 tips, guys. I hope they help. If you have any other questions or comments, let us know, and we'll see how we can help you.